Hi guys, so today I have a video about the Runcam Split. I won't do a full review because there's a million of those on YouTube already. What I will do is just give you an unboxing of my Runcam Split, show you what's in the box, give you my thoughts, or at least my initial thoughts on the Split. On face value it looks like a real nice piece of hardware. My experience though is that isn't the case. It's got some issues, it's got some flaws. If you are careful, you can get around those flaws and get some good footage. But I'll start with the unboxing, show you what's in the box, and then at the end I'll tell you a story that I have about my Runcam Split. So inside the box you've got the Split already connected to the camera. It's got a ribbon cable which uses two very thin sets of what they call golden fingers to actually make the connection to the PCB and inside the camera. Now, when I opened it up and started playing with it, after watching Bruce's review on RC Model Reviews, and I thought I'd listen to what he said about the cable potentially being quite fragile. When you're playing around with it, as you'll see here, you know, you're turning the camera and the cable is twisting around on the PCB, and I think it wouldn't take long for that ribbon cable to snap at the golden fingers end. And so I thought what I'd do is remove that cable from the PCB so that I didn't ruin the cable. I got the model with the Wi-Fi module. Now this is something that you wouldn't use all the time. You just connect it to your PCB, use it to make the changes before you install it into your model rather. Take it off and then you know, just tuck it away for future use. Inside the box also you've got the Shop with Confidence card. I'm probably going to try and use that shortly. You've got the instruction paper, and you've got this little bag of goodies. Inside the goodie bag you've got the nice silicon cables. They're a dual-ended cable. It's got the same connector on both ends, and the expectation is that you would cut this cable into two and you would end up with two cables to use with your Split. One end plugs into your Split and the other end would solder onto your flight controller. So you've got a couple of camera mounts. One of them is to make the Split camera basically the same size and use the same connectors, the same screws as an HS1177 style camera, and this mount just kind of fits onto the side like so. It screws on at the front, and then you've got a couple of screw holes on the side for your screws that go into your frame mount. The other one is to use when you want to fix your camera to the bottom or the top of your frame rather than from the side. So this is the cable here. As I say, it's a double-ended cable. One end fits into the PCB, the other end would normally solder to your flight controller, and it just kind of clips into here. The other cable is one that I believe you use for an FPV live feed. The other bag is a bag of screws that you use to mount the camera to the mounts, mount the mounts to your frame. And there's actually some little plastic spacers in there too, which I thought was quite handy. Now here are the instructions. You know, they're not bad. Runcam I think do a fairly good job with their instructions, but they're a little bit light. A little bit light. Now interestingly enough, in this set of instructions there isn't information on connecting up your Split to clean flight, and the Split actually comes with a set of receive and transmit pins which you can wire up to your flight controller on a spare UART. And currently using Clean Flight you can actually set up switches on your transmitter to turn on and off recording. Betaflight 3.1.7 doesn't support that at the moment, but I believe that Betaflight 3.2 will. I believe that the beta versions are out there now support it, and that will be really handy because your options currently with Split are that you get it to auto record, or you press the little button on the side of the PCB, which isn't terribly useful. Auto record is great, except, you know, anytime you plug your quad in, it's going to start recording. So you can end up with, lots of useless footage of you sitting around doing nothing. So this is the contents of the package. You've got this extension cable, which is what I ended up using. More about that later on. So as I mentioned, when I got my Split, and having watched Bruce's review on RC Model Reviews, I decided to remove the cable from my Split so that I didn't damage it, because it looks really fragile. Turns out they probably are quite fragile. So I took mine off, plugged in the Wi-Fi module, I had a look at the Split, set it up, and then I plugged the golden fingers back into my PCB, went to clip the connector up, and the little tab came off and broke. So that was it. The connector itself was broken forever, and I thought that was the end of the Split. Couldn't remember which way in I had the golden fingers when it arrived, so I looked online to see what other people were doing, and every photo on the internet that I looked at showed the golden fingers with the golden side up. So that's what I did, and I could not for the life of me get the Split to work. Took it out, put it back in, took it out, put it back in. I tried everything, and so I ended up trying the longer ribbon cable. That didn't work either, and so I was of the opinion that my Runcam Split was dead. So I contacted Runcam, and it took them a good couple of days to get back to me. In the meantime, I'm trying to get this thing sorted out, and they said that, I've got the golden fingers on the PCB the wrong way up. And I thought, well, there's no way, because I've already tried that. But no, I thought I'll give it a go. Turned it upside down, and hey, presto, it worked. And I was absolutely gobsmacked. Having tried many times to get the cable working, taking it in and out, what I discovered was that the golden fingers exit the ribbon, or the bound part of the ribbon cable, and it actually creased and snapped. And so, this is just from me pushing it in and taking it out a few times. We're not talking tens of times, we're talking a handful of times. And whilst I may have had the ribbon cable in the right way at some stage, because the cable was broken, there was no connection, and so the camera just wasn't functioning. After getting my Runcam Split working, I got it into my racing quad, which is where it was destined for, because the obvious use for the Runcam Split to me is in a quad where you don't have a GoPro style mount, but you do want, high def recording. And for me, that is my racing quad, because I've got a pod on it. There's no mount for it, but it would be really handy to get some high def footage. So I installed it, took it out for a fly, and oh my god, the FPV feed was absolutely abysmal. It's very, very dark. I had black lines going up and down. I had so much interference that it was basically unflyable. It was absolutely abysmal. Having watched Joshua Bardwell's video, which came out at quite an opportune time, he said that you need to solder the camera and the transmitter negative pads together on the same pad. Tried that. Didn't really fix the problem. So at this point, I've got a 5-volt Pololu style step down that I'm going to solely use, I think, just to give that a try. They offered me a $10 voucher, basically just to say, hey, we're sorry that you're having issues. $10 isn't a lot of money, so it wasn't really, I couldn't buy a new PCB or anything with it, but it turns out that you can get a set of cables and a set of mounts for it for just over $10. So I spent the voucher, and it actually cost me a couple of bucks US. So they'll be here shortly. So in order to prepare, I took the Split out of my quad, and I had it on the bench, and I had to remove the hot glue which was holding the cable onto the PCB. Took that off, took the ribbon out, and I found that the golden fingers connector on the PCB is now actually even more destroyed than it was. I've tried to get the Runcam Split going on the bench. It isn't working. Not sure if it's the connector or if the long ribbon cable is now not working. I don't know. I've got the new ribbon cables arriving hopefully today, maybe tomorrow. I'll give that a try. If one of the new ribbon cables doesn't work, then obviously the connector itself is no good, and I'll be attempting to get a warranty claim for that. Man, what a saga. So thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to me rant. Hopefully we get a positive result to this, and I will certainly let you know. Thanks.